Welcome everyone to our Transition to Adulthood webinar with our very own transition specialist, Debbie Johansson. If you have met with Debbie before, you know how knowledgeable she is and how compassionate and passionate she is about the special needs community. If you have not met with Debbie for a one-on-one consultation, that is a complimentary, no fee, no cost service to all of our members at United Angels Foundation. And we will have Debbie's contact information available throughout the webinar and afterwards. So that way, if you would like to schedule some one-on-one time to have more personal look at your family situation so Debbie can assist you, you are welcome to do that. And now I will turn the time over to Debbie Johansson. Thank you so much for being here and presenting today.
You bet. Thank you, everyone, for being here. We all have something in common in that we have children, adult children that are entering that very important almost 18 or sometimes beyond 18. And the processes and services and programs that we're talking about are kind of like a secret roadmap that nobody tells us how to get there or what to do or how to arrive. And it can be quite daunting, the paperwork. I'm hoping that through this webinar, we might be able to pull our roadmaps together, come up with a nice plan of action. If you're feeling intimidated, you're not alone. This is quite a task to think of, but we've done hard things before. We've gone through IEP meetings. We've gone through the time of our lives where our child was diagnosed. We've gone through therapy schedules, medication decisions, and we've had to have superhero patience and ability to just pursue hard things. So this is a little bit of a hard thing to navigate through these agencies and programs, but let's make it a little easier and at least get started. Everyone's situation is quite different, so I can guide you through how it most often goes, but everyone's circumstance might be a little different, but we'll go through what most often happens. So your child is almost 18. What do we do? It would be fun to hear from each of you, to hear your story and where you are with this process. I love doing the one-on-one consultations so that we can zero in on exactly what you need. But we're going to pretend you've done nothing and start from that point. Let's next page. Here's a very loose timeline of what we can do. Yours may be a little different. I have lots of clients that's children are 24 or something, and we're going, oh, we need to get started here. So be a little loose. Social Security, as an adult child with disabilities, we have to kind of get used to that terminology. To say my child in any of these applications or in chatting with anyone from these groups, we need to say my adult child with disabilities, because if you say my child, they're thinking, a young child. So your adult child with disabilities, we can apply for Social Security at 18. Some will say, can you start a little earlier? It's really not of much advantage because you're not going to get any benefits before the age of 18. Medicaid can be done pretty much any time, but since it is connected with Social Security in the state of Utah, I would say 18. It could be 19, 20, or whenever you decide to do it. DSPD can be done at birth, but a lot of us didn't quite get there until much later or even yet. So that is one of my special things, is I like to make that a more simplified thing for you. Folk rehab technically can start at 14. I wouldn't knock yourself out doing that everything at once. Guardianship, you can start at 17 and a half. And education, those decisions will probably be made as we go along, but by 18, we need to have a pretty clear picture. Let's go to the next slide. We're going to start with Social Security. And the reason for that is Social Security preassumes eligibility for everything else. It's a snowballing effect. If Social Security deems one as with a disability, it's hard for the other agencies that were just listed to not agree with that. So that's why I like to start with Social Security. You can get Medicaid without Social Security, but it's a lot easier if you're already on. If you're applying to DSPD, you can apply even though you're not on Social Security, but to actually get services, you will need to be found eligible with Social Security. The monthly benefits right now in the 2026 year are $994. And another reason you should apply is it helps when applying to Medicaid if you're on Social Security. You can do it without, but it's a little easier if you do. And a couple of questions that a lot of folks ask is, oh, but I have to be guardian. You do not need to be legal guardian to apply for Social Security. You will become what's called the representative payee. And that is done with a form that Social Security will give you. Now, they would like you to be guardian, but the problem is folks put off applying to Social Security because they think they need to first be guardian. So my opinion is don't wait. And Social Security is a little dysfunctional. It's a lot dysfunctional. You can ask the same rep or 3 different reps the same question, and you could get 3 different answers. But the bottom line is, if you really pin them down, you will say, if they say you have to be guardian, you say, no, I will become their representative payee. And also with Social Security, my suggestion when chatting with them, if you even have to chat with them, I would avoid it, is to say yes, no, and stop talking. Don't over chat what your explanations are. They know just what to ask you to throw you off. So my suggestion is not to defend your good parenting skills and trying to soften things. Just say, no, I will be their representative payee. Another little quirky thing about Social Security that some folks are worried about is if they're on Social Security, they can't work. That is not true. They can work. I have a daughter with disabilities. She's older now, but she's been on Social Security for 18, 19 years, and she has worked the entire time. However, and we'll talk about this in more specifics, you do want to learn what the rules are. And there are a lot of rules about working and keeping your Social Security benefits and Medicaid benefits. The rules of Medicaid and Social Security, especially when it comes to assets, are very similar. So it's when I say benefits, it's kind of comes in a 1-2 punch. Both Social Security and Medicaid have different rules. And there's a wonderful place that is one of my favorites to go to learn those rules. We'll talk about that when we get to the voc rehab part. So before you apply, one of the biggest things you need to watch out for now before you apply is how much money does your child have in their name, all accounts combined, because the asset limitation at this point, and for the last 25 years, why they wouldn't up it, I don't know, is $2,000. And so if they have a savings account that grandma puts in or their checking account, Social Security will find it. And there's not just the accounts that you give them the information, they will find every account. A little creepy how they do it, but they will find every account. So combined, it can't be more than 2,000. And you'll need to provide bank statements during the application process. And again, you will be their representative payee, and you will help manage their money to be sure that it's not 100% spent on video games. And the representative payee guidebook that is online, you can get it, a guidebook for representative payees. You can look up, and I can chat with you individually about what your duties would be as the representative payee. What can you spend their money on? Technically, if your child, your adult child, has a representative payee, they are not supposed to have direct access to their own Social Security money. If they can manage that benefit, $994, wisely and appropriately enough to cover all of their needs, then they don't need a representative payee. But most often, they will. They will need someone to help navigate their finances in a proper fashion. So, another thing that you could actually do, the third thing that I suggest doing before you apply for Social Security, and this would cover several different agencies, and that is ask the teacher at school if they're still enrolled in school. If they are not in school, the school districts have to keep records for 5 years. You can call the school district archives, I guess, and ask for a copy of their most recent psychological evaluation. That's really your golden ticket. And we'll talk more about testing. If your child had an IEP in school or has an IEP, by federal law, they have to have a psychological evaluation. It is most often done at school by a school psychologist. But what a lot of families don't, or parents don't know, is that the school can administer a test and then wait 5, 6, 10 years to do another one. So it's important to note the date that the testing was administered, because Social Security and Medicaid and DSPD like to have testing that has been done within the last 5 years. So if you would ask your teacher, can I have a copy of the most recent psychological evaluation? It's not hard for them. They just email it to you. It's on their computer. So don't feel like they're going to be pawing through boxes to find it. You're not putting them out. It's part of their job. So ask for a most recent psychological evaluation. You will need a copy of their Social Security card. So if you can't find it, you may want to request a new one online. Their birth certificate, proof of income of their income, not yours. And if they haven't worked, you just say it does not apply. So let's go to the next screen, how to apply. Nowadays, this is different than just a year ago, probably. You go to that Social Security website and click on how to apply for Social Security, start the application process. I want to just chat to, there are many different categories of Social Security, and some of them kind of cross over and become confusing. Your child without a significant work history, they can have worked, but not significant, such as you and I, who have worked many years, have received different credits for how many years we've worked, and then become disabled or retired. We are getting SSDI. That is for those with a significant work history. Most of the time, our children, adult children, do not have a significant work history. So that means, excuse me, they are applying for SSI. There are other categories where if the parent, biological parent, has passed away or is pulling their retirement Social Security, they would then be applying for DAC, which is usually not the case. 95% of the time, your child will be applying for SSI. Um, Social Security will also automatically apply for SSDI, which means they're going to look into your child's records to see have they worked enough in the past to sustain themselves. And you will get a letter in the mail denying them SSDI. And it will make you freak out. It will almost always come on a Friday, so you have to worry about it. We didn't even apply for SSDI. We know they're not going to be found eligible. So you don't need to worry about that first letter that is denying them SSDI. That's not what we applied for. We applied for SSI. So it's a little dysfunctional sounding, but that's how it's going to go. You're going to get that letter denying them SSDI. Soon after that letter, you'll probably get your first check because they usually come very close together. When you apply online, please note the date that you start the application. That date becomes your application date. If you are charging rent, which I would highly recommend that you do charge rent, you can write that date that you started the application as your time, your date on your rental agreement, because it's going to take Social Security sometimes 4 to 9 months to be found eligible. They're catching up a little bit now. I've had some get it in 2 months. Some has been dragging on. It just depends how much testing, how much they like the documentation you sent in. But they're going to give you a retro check back to the date that you first started. So it is hugely important to just start that application because you'll get a retro check back to that date. And that will be automatically more money than the 2000. So you'd already be over, but they have a clause where you have 9 months to spend that retro check down. I would keep receipts for big purchases, but a good chunk of that will be paying yourself back for past rent. So that would use a large amount of that retro check. So put the date of your rental agreement as the day you started the application. Then legally you're covered for that period of time that Social Security is deciding if they are eligible or not. And you'll get the retro check. Basically, though, follow all the directions. If they say jump, salute, and jump. If they say, we need you, let's go ahead. Oh, another thing before we change screens to do before is, or as you're applying, I should say, call your child's teacher if they are in school and let them know that they're going to get that big white envelope from Social Security where they fill out evaluations on how your child is doing in school. And that is one of the reasons Social Security is delayed, is because if it's a new teacher, they're not aware they have to get that done in order for Social Security to find them eligible. So give them a heads up that's coming in the mail, especially if we're turning the corner around summertime. You may want to ask, is someone going to be coming in the summer and checking mail? Because we are applying to Social Security. The envelope will become, it's time sensitive. So will you be able to get that over the summer? If they are changing schools, leaving the high school setting, going into a post-secondary school, that new teacher has to get to know that student for at least 3 weeks. I believe it's 2 or 3 weeks before they can fill out that evaluation about that student because they don't know them yet. So they have to wait to get to know them. So let your teacher know that that's going to be coming in the mail. Let's go to the next screen. Testing. Current testing is your golden ticket into everything. And again, DSPD, Social Security, VOCA, they all want testing that would assign your child an IQ score, or when there's autism, they often do the GIA score. But it's not so much that they have testing or not. It is, when was the testing done? And where can you get the testing done if they've left the school system? Well, the number one way is school, because that's free. I like free. A private psychologist can do that. You may need to check with your insurance. Sometimes they will cover psychological testing. On occasion, don't count on it, but Voc Rehab and DSPD can order new testing. But Social Security, if they are not loving the information that you send them and they can't quite make that determination, they will have your child go to what's called the Social Security Disability Determination Service. Let's change the screen. And that is basically a nice psychologist near you who will test your child. Usually it's looking for an IQ score. And what the whole point of Social Security is your child capable of working enough to sustain themselves? That testing needs to reflect that. That could be an IQ score of 70 or below, because that represents intellectual disability. However, with our autism friends, they can have a quite high IQ score. So that is kind of not looked at as much, but their eligibility will be determined by the psychologist. Can they work enough to sustain themselves? How much is that? It's called substantial gainful activity, and it's 1,320 this year. It changes every year. So if they have not shown in the past that they can work that much, and the psychologist or the psychological evaluation that you give them, or that comes from Disability Determination Service, wherever you get the testing, that should reflect, can they work enough? If they can't work that much, they will most likely be found eligible. Just a bit about the rental agreement for Social Security. If you do not charge rent, actually, it's not called a rental agreement. It's statement of landlord and claimant. I have a copy of it in the binder, an example, and then a blank one for you to do however you'd like. If you do not charge rent, they will reduce the check by 1/3 plus $20. I don't know where that comes from, but that's what it is. And the reason for that is called in-kind support and maintenance, or ISM. It's one of Social Security's little creations that says, if you, mom and dad, have been providing food and shelter and all your child's care, we're going to assume that you are going to continue to do that. But if you say, no, they're 18, they need to pay their way, then Social Security cannot take that ISM out, in-kind support and maintenance. Then they will get the full amount. That was a little weird for me at the beginning to think and hear, I have to charge my child rent. That's weird. I don't want it. Oh no, I don't want to do that. You need to do it. I personally have found peace with this because I need to die happy. I need to make sure that my child has enough to live off of, or those caring for her in the future gets all the support. I'd like to see anybody live off of 600 and let's see, with the third, it's like 680, 674. Let's see anybody live off that, find a place to live and eat and provide for all of their needs. That would be very difficult, if not impossible. So that extra money from ISM, in-kind support and maintenance, will come from giving Social Security the rental or statement of landlord, claimant, and landlord. I have a copy of it. If you would like a copy of my binder, I've made a handy dandy binder that I wish I would have had when I was going through these processes. I developed it many years ago because I thought this whole process was a nightmare. Nobody tells you anything. So I've pulled one together, and that's what clients that have the one-on-one consultation from me, they receive. So you'll have this all in front of you. There's a lot more to Social Security, like how to manage receipts. Does that mean I have to claim that rental money as my income, taxable income? There's a lot more to it. And we go over that, what your duties are, how you work, and keep your Social Security benefits. But that's the basic part of it right there. And we could go into detail, but that's the basic. My opinion is, why wouldn't you start today to apply? For every month you don't start the application, you're losing close to $1,000 a month that could be going to the care of your child. So start. You don't even have to finish. Let's go on to Medicaid. It's a short one, though. Why do you need to apply for Medicaid? I have this in an order on purpose. It will make it easier to apply for Medicaid if you have even started the Social Security application. Why do you need it? Well, it's medical coverage. They're most likely already covered under your work or another plan. So Medicaid would always be the secondary. It gives you a lot of peace of mind. Here's an example. When my daughter had a massive stroke several years ago, we had insurance. Medicaid was a secondary. Her total bill after 31 days in the hospital was astronomical, close to $1 million by the time we were done. It was a significant life-changing stroke. She has semi-recovered, thankfully, but it was a long journey. Had we not had that secondary, we'd have lost our house just from the copays. We would have maxed out everything. So it is a lot of peace of mind when you get Medicaid. Also, just a little side note, if you do not have Medicaid and they would be eligible, they have to be found eligible. Usually they will automatically if they're on Social Security, but you still have to apply. 50% of the states you have no application, just they're automatically on with Social Security. Our state, we have not a terribly hard application, so don't worry about it. But if there's a car accident or some medical thing that happens that is going to be significant, you can quickly apply for Medicaid and they will back pay 3 months of previous medical bills. So that's kind of handy to know that should something happen, you can quickly go and apply to Medicaid and they'll go back 3 months. I was a little worried personally about having Medicaid because I thought it would be a back alley doctor with dirty fingernails or something. That was absolutely not the case. In fact, nothing changed. I called the doctor my daughter most often sees, and I said, what Medicaid plan Would you grandfather in your current patients? There are 4 Medicaid plans. As you're applying, ask for the plan that your doctors that you typically see now are already on or would honor for those on Medicaid. So nothing changed. I saw the same doctors and it was awesome. My copays were basically all done. At one point, your child will probably drop off of your medical coverage and you'll have this already in place and it'll just smoothly move on over to Medicaid, where your copays are quite low. I think they're $4 now. Emergency room is $8. I mean, it's there, it's helpful to have. And there's a lot of peace of mind. Let's go to the next screen. How to apply. I'm kind of old school. Yes, you can apply online. That's what they like you to do. There's the phone number. The Department of Workforce Services is the agency over Medicaid. In the binder that if you have a one-on-one, I have a paper application that I prefer to do paper, walk it in to a Department of Workforce Services. I have directions on how to fill it out, but even with those directions, it will not answer every question. I don't know your tax filer information. So one of my little fun tricks is to fill out the paper application, use it as a worksheet, scribble in the margins, ask your questions in the margins. I don't know about this. Then walk that little paper application into the Department of Workforce Services, have them answer your questions that you've scribbled in the margins so that you have a completely correct. If you fill it out online and it's not correct, you will most likely be in la la land for months and months. On a good day, there's 16 offices in Utah. I should have got a water bottle. You can walk it in, and on a good day, if they're not really busy, you can hand them your now completed and verified because you've asked your questions. If they're not busy, you can say, can you input this for me? And they'll put it in for you and you walk out and you're done. So if they're busy, they'd say, no, I'm sorry, you can do it online. But now you've got your corrected version in front of you, and that works kind of snazzy. I like it that way. You can do it online as well. Good luck. Let's go to the next screen. Division of Services for People with Disabilities, DSPD. It's a terrible acronym. It's hard to say. You have to practice it to get it to come out right. Overall, my description of it, my personal description of it, is it's the Holy Grail. You need this. You want this. I can die happy with this. I know my worst nightmare for my child, and she has significant disabilities. My worst nightmare is for something to happen to me or my husband, and my other children are wonderful. I just don't see that working very well. As much as they love her, everybody loves everybody, but I don't think it works very well to say, you're going to have your younger sister for the rest of your life. It's hard for me. Why would I do that to my other children? I expect them to have her over weekly, if not more, and holidays and birthdays and do all of those fun things. But my worst nightmare is that she'd be in a care center, a big facility with nurses, like a rest home or something. That's my worst nightmare. I don't want that to happen. That will never happen with DSPD. So I get a lot of peace of mind having my daughter. And yes, there's a wait list. Yes, well, there's an application. But I can walk you through. I was on the committee that wrote it. I know exactly what they want to hear. I'll walk you through the application line by line over the phone in 40 minutes. I just a month ago had an attorney dad that I walked him through it. We got through it in 25 minutes. He was awesome. But typically, there's a few more questions, and it took 45 minutes, an hour at the most, at the very most. And I wait for you to fill it out. So when we hang up, you're done. You're done with the application. And I'll walk you through this what next steps. Yes, there's a wait list, and we're going to talk about if you're on the wait list, how to move that up faster. Why do you need DSPD? If there is no dream that you can dream for your child that cannot be facilitated through the different services that DSPD provides. There are pages and pages of different codes and services. Respite, supported living, caregivers compensation is kind of fun and new. They give help with employment. My daughter even got a massage once a week from DSPD, but I didn't ask for that. That's a little over the top. But they have pages and pages. May I suggest, though, also big one is day supports, somewhere to go when there's no school. Otherwise, they're on your sofa all day. So sometimes having them have an opportunity to socialize and keep them from regressing. Day supports is one of the good ones to do. There's also summer camps. There are so many different categories of supports. May I suggest if your child is around 16 or 18, and you'll probably get services before they're 18 or soon as they're 18, may I suggest asking for supported living as what you need, because it pretty much covers all the other categories combined. Plus, it pays you or your employee the most, 21 something an hour. If you ask for respite, that's awesome, but it's going to pay 14 something an hour. So just ask for supported living. It will help you keep your employees longer. It is also how you would access caregivers compensation, if that interests you. It interests me for part of the hours, but we as caregivers sometimes need a break. We need to not burn out. We're no good to our child if we're running on empty. So you can, let's see if the next screen talk about it. No. There are DSPD is a budget on paper, basically, and you can decide how you want to spend that budget. They don't just write you a check every month. There are two separate programs. Self-administered service is where you hire who you want to do what you want them to do, when and where and how you want them to do it. And that includes hiring yourself as a caregiver. They'll probably require you to have a second employee to avoid burnout, which is fine. That's great for me. Another way you can use your budget is the provider model, where you can hire a company to do what you want them to do. Some of the things that you may want, for instance, day supports, that is done by a provider model. Only a company provides that. You can ask for both. You can ask for so many hours of caregivers compensation with so many days a week or part of your budget for day supports. There's just could be any type of whatever you need to help your child live as independently as possible. That is awesome. That is probably why my daughter, she doesn't live with us anymore. And she is happy. I thought when I first started DSPD and I hired somebody, because having a child with disabilities is hard. It's hard on marriages. It's hard on everything. We love them to pieces. Absolutely would do anything in the world for them, but it can be hard. Sometimes we need a break. And I had the martyred mother syndrome. I named that. That's just my own made up thing, where I would say, no, I'm sorry. I can't do that. I can't go with you on that work trip because I have a daughter with disabilities and I must suffer. And that was the really wrong way to go. The first time I used DSPD to have someone come in that I knew, I hired, I trained to live in my house, eat my food, and sleep in my beds so that my daughter would be well cared for. And I would go off to the conference with my husband's work or something, or girls' weekend out or something. I had never done it. She was 22 years old before I'd ever left her, ever. And I thought she would be hanging on to my ankles for dear life. I leave at 8 o'clock at night. I'm back at 8 o'clock in the morning. And she looks at me. She goes, "Oh, you're back." And I went, "What? What? This is awesome." So I went a weekend. The first time I went for a week, she thought she was having a party. She thought it was the greatest thing to have her friend here. And it was awesome. She had no problem with it. And here I spent 22 years thinking I must suffer. No, it was awesome. But I'll tell you, you have a dream of putting your toes in hot sand. Someday it can happen, but you got to apply. And I'm happy to help you do that. Don't feel like DSPD is going to take your child away from you and start dictating what you have to do. That is not. You run the whole show. You are not having your rights taken away. You call all the shots. I think it's the bomb. I really do. And how to apply. Next screen. Sorry. You don't even really have to call the intake line. You can get the application online. It's also in the binder. Every application is in my binder. You can fill out a paper one. You can fill it out online. They're exactly the same. I can walk you through it and you email it in. There are some, if you, it's intimidating to do this paperwork and you think you're going to do it wrong and the DSPD police or Social Security police are going to arrest you. It is intimidating and you want to do it right. So I'm happy to help you do it. If you just need a few little minutes of hand holding, I can do that for you. I can get right down to the specifics. And sometimes there's hard questions. So I'm happy to help you with that. DSPD themselves will answer your questions too. But they're nice people, actually. Way nicer than Social Security. Let's go to the next screen. Once you have sent your application in, you have to drive this. You have to be a piranha mama. You've got to go after it. After you send it in, maybe wait a week or two, and you call DSPD. That was the 844 number on the previous screen. And you say, that's the intake line, who is my intake worker? You're going to have two workers. The first is your intake worker who's going to go over all your paperwork and ask you questions, especially the NAQ questions, need assessment question. They will ask over the phone. I happen to have a copy of them if you want it, but you didn't get it from me. It's kind of nice to know what they're going to ask you in advance. And so you need to ask your intaker worker, when do you have everything you need? Do you need any information more? When will my needs assessment questionnaire be? And she will have to schedule that. I've had families turn in their application and 6 months later said, I haven't heard anything. I will have a heart attack and give you a riot act. You have to call them. You have to drive this. And what was messing it up is the intake worker had been replaced with a different one, and you've got to call. They're just, you have to call them a lot. Emailing is actually better than calling. Emails can be, or excuse me, phone calls can be forgotten about or ignored or whatever, however you want to think of it. Emails cannot be. When I write an email to DSPD, I don't need to anymore. I think they're fantastic myself, but I would always say, please document this in their file. Write your child's name, their date of birth. Please document this in their file, whatever it is you're going to be telling them. So you go after that. That sounded wrong. You make sure you stay in contact with your intake worker and push that along. Don't let them take 6 months to schedule your NAQ. Have it be next week. Chop, chop, let's go. Let's do the next screen. Once you have the NAQ questions over the phone, you will get a letter in the mail saying, ta-da, you are on the wait list. The average wait is 5.5 years. The longest wait I've heard of is 26 years. My record for helping an individual from the time they applied to being on services is 7 months. It is not how long you wait, but by what your critical need is. So, unfortunately, you have to think of your worst day when you're chatting with Social Security and DSPD. If you're talking with them or never call them after you're on the wait list, you will never get services. So you have to now call once you've got that letter saying you're on the wait list, put on speed dial your wait list worker, because you're going to be calling them with any kind of changes, episodes, anything that is significant. You need to let them know. How would they know your kid's been in the hospital for a week? How would they know they ran off and the police were looking for them? How would they know that you, the caregiver, has terrible medical crisis or anything significant? I've listed some of the things that matter to move them up on the list faster. I don't think I should probably read those, but you might want to browse over them. Be very specific. Tell them about a specific incident. Give them a police report. They're never going to take your child away. I've never seen it in doing this for over 20 years. They want to keep your child with you as long as you want and as long as you can. So don't worry about producing police reports or the hard, awful things that can sometimes happen. I can give you all kinds of examples. I'll give a quick one that I did. I emailed my waitlist worker. Dear waitlist worker, I'm calling on behalf of Katie Johansson, date of birth. Please document this in her file. She microwaved her taco for 10 minutes instead of one, burned up the microwave and singed the cabinets around. Very dangerous situation for her. This is showing, dear waitlist worker, I cannot leave her alone. We are desperate to get some help. This was a destruction of property and a significant safety issue to her. And I watch her, but she needs 24/7 watching. Read over what types of things matter. I've listed them there. They don't want to hear you whine and complain. You want to have it be a significant, have it geared to these areas. In my guide little binder, I go into a little more specifics about that, but generally, there they are. Another example, in a 9-month period, I emailed this to the waitlist worker. Please document this. In the last 9 months, I have three other children. One got married, one went on a mission, one went to college, and my mother died. And my husband works or travels 70% of the time, which makes me a single mother, as the law says. So I have no supports. That mattered. I actually got services pretty quick after that. When I was diagnosed with a significant health problem, I reported that. Um, I was on the wait list 5 years. Somebody said, report, are you reporting changes? And I went, what? Am I supposed to? Well, I started to. I was on in 6 months. Now, I cannot guarantee that that is when what will happen for you, because you could be there's over 4,000 on the wait list, 4,700 last I looked, changes every day. You could be number 800 one day and 1,200 the next, because other people with more significant needs have come up. But stay at it. That's the end of DSPD. We're going to go on to Voc Rehab. I think working is important. My daughter's worked since she was 18, over 20 years. You want it to be a good job match. You want it to make them happy. Who wants to go to a job that makes them miserable every day? Now, her stamina is not great. So 3 days a week is maximum, maybe 5, 6 hours a day. That's it. That's as much as she can handle. And I question that sometimes. But Voc Rehab will help them find a job. It helps them feel like a part of the community, and it's the best respite for you. Let's go on to the next screen, how to apply. If they are in a post-secondary school or under the age of 24, you would ask for a transition Voc Rehab counselor. Their duties are a little different than if they're working with a 60-year-old or something as a disability. The Voc Rehab, it's an easy application. It's in my binder. You can get it online. 5 minutes. Don't spend more than 5 minutes on that application. You can do this anytime. I personally would do Social Security first, because that gets the flow of money going. But I think Voc Rehab is very important too. The Voc Rehab counselor will go to your IEPs to help establish goals that will, on the IEP goals, that will help support what her job goal is. And the Voc Rehab counselor will write an individual plan for employment. This makes me laugh, which is an IPE. Why couldn't they think of another acronym that didn't sound like an IEP? But it's an IPE, individual plan for employment. And there again, Voc Rehab offers you different companies, vendors, providers or vendors is what they term that. And they will go out and help your child find a job. I've done webinars just on Voc Rehab and finding a job. Just a couple of quick points that are not on there. If they are working on Social Security and going to school, you have to let Social Security know if they're working and that they are eligible for the student earned income. Let me start over. Student earned income exclusion, which is where Social Security does not factor into their formula of how working will affect their Social Security check for the first almost $10,000. That's $10,000 extra dollars in your pocket if you let them know they're a student. Utah Work Incentive Planning Service, or UWIPS, is the bomb. That's the place to go. They have saved my hide with learning how to work and keep your Social Security and Medicaid benefits. The rules are complicated. and they will one-on-one sit with you and explain, if she earns this much, this will happen. If she goes over this much for her 9 trial work periods, it's very convoluted. This will happen. I needed them. They will save you. You can see them once your child is on Social Security. And last I heard, at least a promise of a job or a voc rehab case open. Another cool thing to know about very quickly about employment is the employment related personal assistance service program, or EPAS. You can hire yourself to do this. All the things that your child needs in order to maintain their job. And the criteria is a 10-hour a week job, have Social Security, and have Medicaid. You can hire yourself to help them maintain their job, like laundry, food prep, grocery shopping, nails trimmed, haircuts, standing in line to get the pharmacy, the medications, doctor's appointments, all the time, driving them to work. It's not job coaching them on. I know an individual, he works 5 to 7, Monday through Friday. That's his 10 hours. Mom filled out the application, it's in the binder, of all the things that would help him keep his job. Somebody has to maintain their paycheck and finances, all of those things. You can hire yourself, but she hired another individual. They get 33 hours a week in personal assistance to help them maintain their 10-hour a week job, or more, can be more. There's no wait list. What else should I do? 33 hours. Isn't that awesome? Oh, you can do this while they're on the DSPD wait list. A pretty sweet thing. You cannot do it if you are on services with DSPD. You have to choose. Personally, I would always choose DSPD because that will follow them throughout their life. And if they lose their job, they lose EPAS. So I would personally always go with DSPD, but it's your choice. Little did I know back when I learned about this, my daughter would work for the next 20 years and I could have been getting a lot. Anyway, so the next screen, I believe we're on guardianship. Guys, this is a hard one right now because for 20 years plus, the way to do it was online court assistance program. It shut down suddenly in the middle of summer with no explanation and no information. There were folks caught right in the middle of it, and it's gone. It's just gone. It has been replaced with my paperwork. That's the name of the program. It just started really in full force in January. So I have very little feedback from others on how that's going. I am going to assume it's similar to OCAP. I'm guessing. So I have called court systems. I even talked to my attorney. I was setting up a special needs trust fund, asked him about it. He's the one who helped me get guardianship years ago. And he just shrugged his shoulders. He says, it's just getting launched. If you are desperate to get guardianship right now, let's go to the, no, not yet. The 3 ways I know to get guardianship is pay for an attorney, one for you, one for your child. OCAP would teach you how to represent yourself, so that pro se, so you didn't need an attorney for you, just an attorney, and you will always need an attorney for your child. There's no way out of that one that I've heard. What I did back in the day is I applied for Social Security, and with the first two checks, I paid for guardianship. I wasn't used to getting that money anyway. It was for her benefit, in my opinion. And that's how I got guardianship without the stress of my paperwork or OCAP. But OCAP wasn't stressful. Anytime I had a family do the OCAP program, 100% of the time, they'd come back to me and say, wasn't half as hard as I thought it would be. I built up so much anxiety over getting guardianship. And I hired an attorney too. We stand up in front of the judge in the courthouse, and the judge says to my daughter, "Do you want your mom and dad to help you?" Yes, that was it. Done. And now you don't even need to go to the courthouse. It's virtual on your computer. It is not as traumatic as I had made it out to be. I apologize that I don't have better information about my paperwork because it's just a little over a month old. So I've had no one give me feedback. If you go to the next screen, assuming that it is like OCAP, they reduced the court filing fee from $360 down to $35. The program itself was $20. If you do it before, I think this is negotiable, the age of 22, your filing fee is reduced. You can start and stop the program at any time. They asked at the end of the program if you would like to represent yourself. Yes, please, because that's one attorney gone. And at the end of OCAP, they also asked if you would like a referral to a reduced fee attorney. Why, yes, I would love that. OCAP would occasionally offer a free attorney, but it would take several months more to get it. So technically, on OCAP, you could get guardianship for $55. There is the self-help phone number there at the bottom. They are now answering their phones. When OCAP went down, it was a ghost town. Nobody, anything. It was just gone. But now they're answering, and they are answering emails and giving some assistance on how to get through my paperwork. I asked AI, or IA, what is it? Anyway, they had some information, but I haven't proven it. So I hate to tell you something that I have no experience with. Personally, I'd get an attorney, use their Social Security money. Let's go on to the last one, education. There is going to be a time where you need to decide, hopefully before 18, are they going to graduate? Do you want them to graduate? Because as soon as they get a high school diploma, they are done with school. There's no post-secondary. Post-secondary gives you 4 more years up to the semester after their 22nd birthday to have goals fulfilled, especially in post-secondary. My experience, I worked for ATEC for 20 years. I love them. Now the school districts are dividing and things, so things are going to be scrambled a little bit. But post-secondary school gives you 4 more years of that, but they don't give a high school diploma at the end. They give no school credits in a post-secondary school at this point, anyway. They can do adult or packets, though. There's a few ways to get around that. If there's a way to get around it, you never go through the front door when you're a parent with a child with disabilities. You always have to find different ways of doing things. I do that really well. I go through side doors, I'll crawl through the basement, I'll get in somehow. But you need to decide. There's really fun new things There are different college and technical school type things, academies that your child can go to. Wolverines Elevated at UVU, Aggies Elevated. I know personally a few people that have done Aggies Elevated. They live there. Their their roommates have been trained about. They often have siblings that have disabilities that they're used to it. They do get college credits for that. They have a wonderful program at UVU too. MTech, my daughter went to culinary arts school. It took her 2 years to get a 1 year certificate so that she could do her dream job, which was working at Costco doing food samples. For her, that's a good day if you can get free samples at Costco. Scenic View Academy is an awesome place, especially for those with high functioning autism. I've had personal friends that have gone there, and it is a great place to go when there's just your young adult child with disabilities just has a failure to launch. They're just not going. Scenic views seem to really help. It's quite expensive, but that's what their Social Security money is for. And you can ask for scholarships and grants on that one. Well, guys, I think my hour is 7 minutes over time. And that was a thumbnail view of everything. Um, I am happy to chat with every single one of you. Sylvia, I don't know if we have time to do questions and answers. I don't know how I could get through it any faster, though.
You did amazing. Thank you, Debbie. Unfortunately, Sylvia had to step away for a call that is important. So I will be helping anyone that needs to ask a question of our guru of all things transition, Debbie. We love her so much. Just either you can unmute or you can put it in the chat. Oh, but I don't have my glasses on. So here's a chat one. At age, okay, what age should you start a guardianship process?
17 and a half, you can start the program.
Does anybody else have any questions? I know you were very thorough, Debbie. Always love the refreshers. And
I have a question.
okay, yes.
What age should you apply for Social Security?
18.
Okay.
There's opposing thoughts that you can start before, but you're not going to get any benefits before the day they turn. I say start the day of their birthday.
Okay.
Because even though it takes a while, they will backdate it to when you start.
Yeah, could you start early, like 6 months before just so that when she turns 18, you're farther along, or that doesn't really help?
You could try. I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I used to be yes, but I haven't heard from anyone recently that is. They make changes often, which is why my binder is in 3-ring binder. I have to rip pages out constantly to keep up with their changes. Yes, they used to, but I am not positive that you can now. Give it a whirl.
Okay, Debbie, we're getting questions here. How do we contact Debbie?
Here's my phone number. Or
you can also email her at debbie@unitedangels.org, or we can and we can always, or info@unitedangels.org, and we can pass along her information.
I don't care if I give them my number.
Okay, give them your number. Well, this might be recorded, so why not?
Okay, maybe not.
Yeah, let's we can send it out with the video too.
Okay.
My son is almost 25, almost 26. I'm sorry. I don't have my glasses on. We were never told any of this. Is it too late for us?
No, but there's different eligibility criteria for each. So if you're talking about Social Security, the eligibility is, can he work enough to sustain himself? If it's DSPD, typically the eligibility criteria is cerebral palsy, autism, intellectual disability, seizure disorder, brain injury. There's another clause, little one, that says or other conditions. which is where you put everything else.
And there are
No,
other
not
waivers.
too late. I was working with a family that had their child was 43. Doesn't matter. It's not too late. Absolutely not.
Is a new diagnosis of scoliosis a good reason to reach out to your DSPD waitlist representative or just cognitive issues?
No, I would reach out. I would absolutely reach out. That's important information that they need to know, and that would very likely move them up on the list. I can't say for sure, but
It can even
definitely
be
yes.
issues that are happening at your family. It doesn't even have to be directly with your child. Like I'll just say somebody I know is getting a divorce, so we contacted the waitlist person to
Yep.
let them know that there was a
Yes.
change in the family.
Yep. Absolutely.
Does anybody have any other questions? You can unmute too if you'd like to.
I'm hoping I gave you a bit of a roadmap. I'm hoping to have not made it more daunting. And I'm so happy to clarify anything and do my best to help it be easier for you. Think how awesome it's going to be in a year when you've got this all done. You're gonna be so glad. And I had a family do the whole thing over one summer. Done. Everything.
From my own experience working with Debbie, I have a husband who is on the acquired brain injury waiver from a accident that caused a catastrophic stroke, and my daughter has Down syndrome. She sat down with me, and within an hour and a half, we had both applications completely done. It took me over 5 years to get up the guts to apply, and she has helped. She's helped with everything. So Debbie is an enormous resource of awesome information for DSPD,
Thank
for Social
you.
Security, for guardianship, for Medicaid, anything that you need. And we love that she's there to help us. We have lots of thank yous, Debbie. You're amazing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll leave it one more time. Does anybody have a question? And you can always reach out to Debbie at debbie@unitedangels.org.
And this is going to be sent out,
I
or how do
believe
we?
it is. It is recording, and so we Sylvia usually it takes a couple hours or a day, and then she'll send it out to you.
Okay, thanks.
By the way, funny little afterthought. If any of the processes that I have explained is you're finding it to be different, please let me know. I have no reason to give out bad information. But Social Security, Medicaid, they don't call me to tell me of changes. I have to rely on others who are going through it to then pass on to other families. I try my hardest to stay up with bulletins from different agencies and such, but they can be a little wonky. And so set me straight anytime that there's something different than how I have explained it.
And don't be discouraged about the wait list, guys. There are other things that you can access while you're on the wait list. And we are working hard with the state legislative organization to make sure that we get as many people off the wait list as possible, or even like part-time funding. I know one thing that we're really concerned about is anyone over 22 that is aged out of post-secondary school. So, but they need to know who needs it and what your needs are. Just keep your caseworker updated, and please use Debbie for anything that you need because she is amazing. Okay, well, if we don't have any more questions, Debbie, thank you for your time.
Yep.
Thank you everyone for being here, and we appreciate all your help, Debbie. You're amazing.
Thank you. You are too, Carrie.
Okay, well, see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.